Today I'm going to do a once over on my vehicle. It's a 2005 Nissan Xterra. I got it just about 2 years ago. This vehicle, I got a really good deal on it when I found it, just off of a Craigslist type scenario. I maybe it was even on Expedition Portal's forums. It had 107,000 miles on it when I got it. Right now it's got 120,002 miles on it. Used it some in the last 2 years. So I have done a paint job on it. I'll have another video on that soon, all about how I did the paint job myself. It had these same tires already on it. A lot of things were already built up for it. I didn't have to do a whole lot on this one. I have on my past ones. I'll show you that in another video. Why this truck? Obviously, I'm a fan of Nissan Xterras. They're a great vehicle as far as budget overlanding is concerned. It's very capable. They do a lot of great off-roading without the expense that some of the other vehicles would have. Obviously, if money was no expense, I would probably be driving something different, like a Toyota or a Jeep or something like that. These are a great way to go. It's the off-road version. It's one of the reasons I have this particular vehicle. The off-road main thing it adds that's the most helpful is the rear locker. And I have used that. All right, I'm going to start out with talk about the suspension and the tires. The tires were on it when I got it. These are 33s, a couple of inch lift, pretty simple to do. You can do 33s on an Xterra. The only thing you really need to do is in the back, there's a little piece of plastic that they do what they call the melt mod, and you just kind of heat that up with a heat gun and push that in. That's the only spot that would rub with 33s. This particular truck, these are the tires already on it. They're still holding up pretty good. This truck has got rad flows, coilovers, and a replaced upper control arm. That's pretty much it on the suspension on the front. The rear suspension is a double add-a-leaf. That's one of the ways that they do a lift in the Xterra world. So there's just two more leaves added that adds more bend to the springs, and that gives me a 2-inch lift. There's also a 3 or 4 degree wedge in there to kind of help out, so the angle of the drive shaft into the differential is good, and you eliminate some vibration. When it comes to the armor on this truck, I've not done a lot on it yet. I've pretty much got stock. The off-road version, other than the rear lockers, the other key thing it comes with, if you call them that, they're skid plates that it comes with. There's one in the front for the oil pan. It has this skid plate for the transfer case and a skid plate for the gas tank as well. Now, these are skid plates. They do help some. You can even see there's some dent in this one, but they are pretty thin. They're not what I would call full armor. When I got the truck, it already had rock sliders on it. These are the Schrockworks. Also, on the armor side of things, I've got a front skid plate that comes with the Schrockworks bumper I'm going to show in a minute. As far as the exterior is concerned, I've not done a lot with it yet. I've not done a lot with my other one before this as well. I'm pretty happy with the way Xterras are made. There's pretty much everything you need on the Xterra already for exterior. It does have the roof rack. I did paint that. And it is a useful roof rack. I've done a hard-shelled rooftop and a soft-shelled rooftop tent on them with no problems whatsoever. One of the handy things about an Xterra is it's got what they call the wet box on the top. This is covered so that whatever you have in there isn't exposed to the elements so much. It's got a locking. I've changed this out to be a locking handle. And then on the inside, I've got room. I carry some of the recovery stuff. I got recovery straps, tree saver, a couple of pieces of 4x6 for jacks and stuff like that. I carry that's the smelly part of the gas can, the spout. There's a shovel, D-rings, that kind of stuff is up here. I also have a tarp in case I need to lay on things or protect from the rain, something. So this is a pretty handy little extra storage space up here. Probably the main thing that's been added on the exterior wise is this front Schrockworks bumper. This is a steel version, so it's got some weight to it. It does have the fog lights built into it. And kind of part of what you get out of this is that it changes the angle, so you've got a little bit more clearance, especially on the corners. Makes it a little better so you're not clipping your bumper on rocks and stuff like that. Of course, it's adding protection. This one's got the full bars. Hit a deer or something like that, those bars are going to help. It's got a 20-inch light bar. That's all I've done so far in lighting. I probably was going to do a big, normal light bar above the windshield. I've got the brackets for it. This one came with it. It's been working pretty well, actually. It's sufficed for the amount of night driving I've been doing. I did add the winch to it. This is a Harbor Freight 12,000 pound winch. Catch it on sale for $289. It's a great deal for a 12,000 pound winch. I haven't changed out the cables or anything. I haven't even used it yet. It's kind of one of those insurance things. The way it is on this bumper, it's a little bit hard to get to the release of it and everything else. I can do that pretty easily through the bottom. But as far as the plugging in the cord and everything, I found that it worked best. I just bought the remote control that's wireless, and that works really great. I don't have to deal with hooking up the wires and stuff to it. As far as the engine's concerned, it's completely stock. It's a little bit dirty right now. I usually do spray it down after I go on trips. But I've not done anything under the hood on this, except for there's a little bit of wiring done for a couple of items that are wired, meaning the light bar. Another thing I have added is inside of the Nissan emblem, I added a couple of LEDs in there that come on with the fog lights, and we find that to be kind of handy if you're traveling with a group of people in the freeway heading out to the trail and you want to kind of find each other in the massive headlights, especially in San Diego, LA area. It's kind of nice to have a little bit of a different color light on the front grille, just so you can spot the guy that you're traveling with in your rearview mirror. So I've done that. It's like $4 LEDs from China, and just wired them to the wiring of the fog lights. No big deal. The one addition I did do under the hood that's been extremely helpful, and I highly recommend it, is these gas shock to hold the hood up. Otherwise, it comes with a bar you gotta prop up to hold the hood. These actually prop the hood a little bit wider than the bar would normally do it. I found them on eBay for like $40, and they've worked great. They're like a 10-minute install, so very happy with that. There's one on each side. All right, onto the interior. The center console of the Xterras are just pretty standard. A couple of nice big cup holders. They do hold the large 44-ounce insulated drink containers. It does have the standard cubby hole. I keep extra sunglasses and odds and ends like that. There's some change, flashlight, and hold some pens as well. Nothing special there. Dash right now. Mainly the main mods that's been done on this is it got a magnet mount for the cell phone that goes right here, just coming out from the side of the between the pieces of trim here. And then also I've added this piece of plexiglass on it. I took a piece of wood and did some wedge cuts to fit into this. There's like I don't know what you want to call it, a coin tray or something like that up here, a junk tray mostly. And added some plexiglass to that. I'll show you in a minute what that's for. I have replaced the head unit with a pretty decent Android one I've been really happy with. It does backcountry navigator on it. I can do pretty much all Android apps on it, including Google Maps and so forth. That's been a pretty good addition. I've just recently switched out my radio, and I'll leave a link to that down below of the one I'm using. It's okay. It's not the greatest radio in the world, but it was Thrifty. It was like $80, something like that. And it's been just fine. We do ham radios. I got my ham license, and I did have a larger, older Motorola style 2-channel radio that's in here, so I just kept using the same wooden plate that I had for that. It's all kind of follows the form of the tray that's in there, and I just mounted this one with that, and it's just plugged into the cigarette lighter adapter. I have added a brake controller capability in here, so it was like a $8 wire that you hook into. There's already a connector for it on an Xterra, so I was able to just buy this $8 conversion, and this goes right into my brake controller, which I usually work with on this mount over here. I do tow with this some. The controls in the Xterra are just kind of a dial select. You just can drop it into 4-wheel drive even when you're moving. You do need to be stopped and in neutral to drop it into 4 low. And then the button next to it is the rear lockers. I've also added a dash cam. I kind of think that's fairly important. I've known some people that were kind of scammed, or people tried to scam them with accidents. And I like it for recording some trail video too. So this is the plexiglass I was talking about. I had mounted. So for my tablet mount, I'm just using it's a cheap, I think I got it for $7-8 type of a tablet mount, done a little bit of alterations to it. I added some padding so it eliminates some rattles and keeps the tablet nice and tight. That's just some foam type tape that's, I guess you'd call it window insulation. So this is where I mount my tablet then. It's worked really well. I can keep it plugged in and powered, and it's all right in the way. As far as blocking my vision and stuff like that, I mean, most of my vision is kind of straight out, and I can kind of see over it enough that I need to. It's really kind of blocking my view of the hood more than it is what I would need to see out as vision. I have slowly started to build a patch collection. If I come across them or if it works out, I do grab them. It's kind of fun. They're easy enough to do. The roof interior of the Xterra is of a type of material that the Velcro on the patches just sticks right to it. There's nothing extra you have to do. As far as my side pockets are concerned, I keep some gloves in there, a couple pairs of gloves if I'm doing tire changes or something, or it's even cold. I'll even throw these ranch type gloves on. I got a spare cap in there, flashlights, and a little nook in the back there is what I normally keep a headlamp or two in, so that's handy. On the passenger side door nook, I do keep a few more things in there. On the right, I've got a can of bug spray. Haven't used that a whole lot because most of my off-roading has been in the desert here, and when I have been in the mountains, haven't needed it too much. I keep a few bags in case I do some shopping. In California, we don't get a bag from the store, so we got to carry them with us. I got the safety vest, wet wipes, and of course the fire extinguisher. Another nice feature about an Xterra is it has kind of two glove box. There's actually some people that have owned an Xterra for years and didn't realize that there's a top glove box to this. When it's closed, it just kind of looks like that's part of the dash. In the bottom glove box, I keep things like napkins and some plasticware and stuff like that, the quick need things. There's, of course, some of the paperwork in there, registration, that kind of stuff. The upper one is where I keep my pressure checker, got some multi-tools, that kind of stuff. My air down tools are in there, and for some reason I've always been carrying an infrared temperature checker. I do check the temperature on the brakes now and then, that type of stuff, but it's come in handy here and there for different reasons. Alright, this is the rear interior of the Xterra as I'd have it set up basically for camping. I don't have all the gear in here because I want to be able to show you where the gear goes. So, of course, the fridge slides in the back here. I've got a whole nother video on that I'll be posting very soon. The left half here is where I would sleep. It ends up being about a little over 2 feet wide, and especially if more so if you go up onto the wheel well area, and then 6 foot 10 inches long from the driver's seat to the rear door. So plenty of room in there for me. I have what I call a bumper skirt I've created. This is basically just a piece of cordura, and with all the desert running that we do, it gets really filthy on the back of the bumper. So this keeps my pants clean when I lean up against it, and it's just velcroed on. I just pull it off and fold it up. I've got on this side some jumper cables, and that is one of the battery in case jump starters. This side still has access to some of the cubby hole in here, so I can get to things like I got some straps and some trash bags and stuff like that in there. Alright, further up, to make the sleeping platform complete, I've got an action packer. This is the 8-gallon action packer, and that works out just to the right height in Xterra. And then there's like the little bit of a center hump there that I've got filled in with the traction mats that I've got. My foam air mattress, I guess you'd call it, auto inflating air mattress, has got a curve to it. So that kind of curves right up into this area and just misses the center console, so it fills it in here. And that works great. This is the shelving unit, the second 2.0 version of it I'm using now that I've built the fridge slide. I made a smaller version of it. All PVC with a piece of plywood to make a shelf. I found I hate rattles, so I found that it works really good to have. I got some kind of like almost like tape, but it's kind of strapping tape on here, so it keeps the wood off of the PVC, and then I've got it zip tied down on each corner, so that helps a lot to keep everything all a lot less rattles. At the top, I've got some of this, like I said, just some strapping that goes across there, and that way I can put like pillows or jackets or something like that up there, and they don't fall through. Obviously, there's some room in the shelves here. I get my recovery gear on the bottom. I can put a gas can under there. I do carry a gas can inside. They're good Wavian ones that don't smell a bit. And then I put on the top clothing and camping kitchen gear. And then of course on top of the fridge slide, it's covered in the other one. I keep my food in there, the dry food in the fridge inside. You can see on my PVC shelves, I didn't go with just a complete rectangle on this. I have added a little bit of a extra pipe here to make this a little further forward. It does fit beside the seat, so that fits in there just fine. If I just went straight down from here, that pipe would kind of be a little bit more in the way and not make as good of access into this area. So it's really been handy just to add this extra little bit to it. It also, the way this is set up, I still have the floor. I load that up with some gear, depending on what I'm doing, but there's always some gear filled in there. And so this is the access I have from the passenger side. I can get in and grab things pretty easily from this side as well. I want to bring up the fact that Xterras are really great to be able to use the exterior to the fullest extent. And one of the ways is, obviously, I sleep in here quite often, but I'm just on my own. Doing a quick trip, I'll do that versus a rooftop tent or anything. And one of the ways it's able to do that is those back seats fold flat. So here it is with the rear of the seat folded up, and you can see that the seat bottom is completely removed on this. There's a couple of connectors here that the seat connects into. So with that completely removed, it makes a lot more space. The other way you can do it is that the bottom seat can just fold forward and be up against the seat in front here, and that still allows the back of the seat to fold down. All right, one of the things I like to cover is what's my favorite mod. I'll ask that in all these once-overs. And I have to say, for this, it's probably going to be the paint job. And I'm going to cover that quite soon here in a video, how I did it and what I did. It had a lot of paint issues. It spent its time out in the heat of the Central Valley of California. So the paint was pretty shot on it. And I did kind of the windows down paint job on it. And that's really made a big difference. It looks great now compared to what it did. It holds up well against desert pinstriping. I've been very happy with that mod. It's definitely kind of reformed this truck into a lot nicer vehicle. As far as future plans for this vehicle, I don't have a whole lot that I plan to do yet. It really covers my needs the way it is. I probably will do some lighting, especially on the top. I'll add a nice big light bar to it. I've got some sitting around even. I'll add. The way it is, there's not a whole lot more I can do to it that I really need or require. Another subject I like to cover in these once-overs is what's thrifty about your vehicle. And that's pretty easy with this vehicle. Pretty much everything is thrifty about it. Some of the things that are on here wouldn't be that thrifty to me. Like the Schrockworks bumper is like $1,300 delivered. I probably wouldn't have gone that far, but it was on this truck already, and so it helped make it a great deal to when I purchased it. Those type of things aren't necessarily that thrifty, but it's been great because it kind of came with the truck, and I got a good deal. As far as what is thrifty, boy, the paint job was thrifty. That's really the main exterior thing I did, was the paint job, and I did paint everything, including the plastics down here and the roof rack. That's done with some spray can bed liner. Of course, pretty much everything in the interior is pretty thrifty. I mean, my shelving unit is just out of some PVC. There's like, I don't know, maybe $15 worth of pipe joints and parts to that. You'll hear in the video I do, the project of the fridge slide, how cheap that was. That was literally almost free. So it's pretty much a thrifty vehicle all around, for that matter. So one of the things I want to talk about is how great of an off-road vehicle Xterra is for the money. This was a 2005. I got it a couple years ago. You can pick these up pretty regularly. This is an off-road version. They usually cost a little bit more than the non-off-road ones, but the four-wheel drive ones are quite capable. If you're not doing a lot of getting into rocks or pretty bad stuff, the four-wheel drive is really pretty good. The tires make more difference than anything. If you got good off-road tires, you're going to be able to get through a lot more. So the 2005 through 2009 to 10 is an era that was kind of the first years of this particular model, and there is some things to look out for with that. That's one of the reasons maybe it's such a great deal. You do need to check that the radiator has been separated from the cooler unit that comes from the transmission, because there was some issues with possibly some corrosion in the bottom of the radiator that allowed the fluid to get into the transmission, and that would ruin that. So you just need to look at the radiator fluid if you're doing it and see it. They call it the SMOD, strawberry milkshake of death. If you've got what looks like a strawberry milkshake in your radiator, then you know they're intermixing. It's probably unlikely you'll see that, because if it's intermixing, the transmission doesn't last too long. So it probably wouldn't be anything you would be even able to test drive or something. But that is one of the factors you need to look at. Man, it's a 10-minute mod to bypass the radiator if you want to. Or you can just replace the radiator. They're like $75 online. That's what I've done on this one. You do get a little bit of cooling of the transmission via the radiator, or you even get it to warm up a little quicker if it's a cold situation, because it does run through the bottom of the radiator. Another thing about the earlier versions of the Xterra, the 05 through 09, is they had a little bit of an issue with the timing chains. The secondary timing chains in it had a little bit of extra burrs to it, I guess they were saying. So what happened is the timing chains would wear out the plastic guides over time, and it's hit or miss, but probably I don't know, at least half or more of the Xterras in that era would have this problem. It'll actually run fine with those timing chain guides, the plastic worn down. It just starts to make more noise. You can kind of hear I'm not sure how higher pitch noise coming from the engine. Eventually, though, you do need to do something about those timing chain guides, because it will wear into the metal. It's in a lubed area, so it's kind of pretty highly lubed metal against metal at one point. But it makes enough noise, and you do need to take care of that. I have two 05s and one 06 Xterra around the house here. One's my son's, one's my old one that my daughter's going to be taking over, and then this one. All three of them I've changed the timing chain guides on. It's something you can do it yourself if you're a mechanic or handy at all. There's plenty of videos online showing you how to do it step by step. It's a pretty involved process. It takes a full 2 days solid. Like 16 hours is what I got it down to. I know a guy that's a mechanic for Nissan. He's got it down to less than 4 hours, which is incredible. You're basically removing the fan area, the front of the engine, the housing on the front of the engine, and then swapping out the timing chains and the guides. There's like $100 kit to do that. Expense wise, it's not that great. If you have it done by somebody else, it's over $1,000 worth of labor, but you can do it yourself for a couple $100. While you're in there, you might as well change the water pump, because you're going to hit this probably when it's 100,000 miles or older that this comes up. And the water pump is behind that front housing of the engine, so you might as well change that as well. Like I said, it is doable. It was quite a task. I've done it 3 times. That's enough. The fact is, with an Xterra, though, is they're really great off-road vehicles. This thing is very hardy, very sturdy. I've not had breakdowns with it. I've been on the trail with a lot of other vehicles that have broke down, had issues, and mine have held up great. I can't complain about that at all. They are quite capable. The Off-Road or Pro 4X version is a newer name for the same thing. With the rear lockers, that has gotten me out of a few situations where I was spinning. I'm sure I could have gotten out with maybe a tug or something like that, but with the lockers, I didn't need to. The engine on an Xterra is a 4-liter V6. Gets 265 horse, plenty of power. I think that pretty much covers it for a once over on my vehicle. Please leave some comments or questions. I'll certainly be checking comments on these forum, and I'd love to talk with you on anything you have, any questions you have. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe. We'll see you on the trail.